Hi everyone, and happy Tuesday. This is another Tuesday in the fine line of getting closer to that election. We are 56 days away from changing America to where America should be on the right road, righting that ship and making it go in the right direction of liberty and freedom. This is your host, Karen Schoen, and we will have today with us John Estabrooks from Louisiana. Wonderful. Can't wait to speak with him. But we are brought to you live on repatriateradio.com. Please visit our websites, panhandlepatriots.com, agenda21today.com, repatriatradio.com, and americaismyname.com. Folks, what a day this has been. And first of all, let us remember that today is 9/11. And we want to think back and always remember that day and give our love, respect, and honor to those families who lost loved ones during this horrific attack that changed the course of our country. So our thoughts and prayers are with you all, and we hope that you all have peace with love in your hearts. Now, with that said, John, you are out in the ocean, are you not? Am I correct?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, you're correct. I am sitting on the rig. Oh, we're doing great. We're in a recompletion stage of a well, so that means we're going to bring a well back on and come up and get some additional oil out of this particular reservoir we're on. So it's good. I just went and checked the government sites. We still got about 4% of production that is not up, after the shut-in of Hurricane Isaac. So we're about 59,000 barrels a day behind maximum capacity for the Gulf of Mexico. Which,
wow, and of course,
it still affects everybody's gas price.
I was just going to say that is absolutely affecting us at the gas pump, folks, and we know that there are no new permits going on. What a travesty. This president is absolutely must be replaced, and I happen to believe with what Clint Eastwood said. If you make a mistake, we're Americans, and we should be able to recognize our mistake and change it. Nobody says we have to stick with a mistake once we know what it is. And just right over just as I got on the radio today, John, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is coming to America. He's going to a meeting at the United Nations. He requested a meeting with the White House with President Obama, and he was turned down. Folks, he was turned down. Please, 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 please pay attention. This president does not have the love of America, and he does not have the love of our allies and the love of Israel in his heart. I cannot believe that, and to say that he is a good person is beyond my comprehension, because he is taking this country and throwing us under the bus. And he could care less as long as we roll right into his agenda. Please, folks, don't take my word. Don't take John's word. Do your own homework. That is what America is about. Learn the truth and start be a spreader of the truth. I couldn't believe that when I read that this morning. It just came in right over one of the news wires. It blew my mind. I'm speechless, and Karen is never speechless.
Karen, this is a powerful day for, and I guess I'm fortunate. I'm on a drilling rig, and we're about maximum capacity. I guess there's 150 men here, and I couldn't let this day go by without taking the opportunity to have a conversation with some of the guys. And to encourage them to get with their family, especially their children. I mean, a lot of children, don't know what we felt on 9/11. And people ask me often, why is it that you're so adamant about this president and about what's happening? And I would ask every listener, to think back and go back and feel what you felt when you saw those planes and that act of terrorism carried out on our soil, American soil. And I can remember that feeling. Yes, there was some fear, but then there was some anger and there was some outrage that someone would dare attack my nation. And I have that same feeling each and every day that I get up, that I must share the message of what is being done to my nation, to my country, whether it's a Muslim terrorist flying a plane or whether it's a domestic, and we are sworn and we have an oath, to defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign or domestic. And I fear a domestic enemy from within right now.
I couldn't agree with you more, John. I sent out a newsletter yesterday, and we went to an agendas conference in Miami. And when I started listening to the people in the Miami area, the assault on the families down there by illegally phony rules and regulations that were just designed to steal their property, kill their animals, destroy their homes, destroy their businesses, all in the name of the environment, it made me sick. It really did when I was listening to what these people were going through. So I started doing some digging, folks, and I want you to do the same digging because you're not going to find this on our local media, not at all. NOAA, James Hansen, the head of NOAA, the climate alarmist, emails saying he knows that there is cold coming, but hide it from the people and tell them that it's warm and global warming. How sinister are these people? Then we have Al Gore, who continues to go out and spew the same lies when they know that it's a lie, just so that they can destroy the lives of the people and push us into servitude. They have a group in Miami that is now getting money, our money that we have to borrow, that we work so hard to get, to go around to county after county and to have these people believe that the oceans are going to raise 4 to 20 feet, and they have to dig up their roads, and they have to raise their houses because this may happen. Folks, it's a physical impossibility, and yet time and time and time again, they don't stop. They belittle you, they berate you.
And it's amazing to me, the loss of people's private property is really sad. And those people in Miami, I mean, after having the conversation, what was is it Jorge that we had on? What was his name?
Oh yes, Julio. And Jose, yes, Jose.
Yeah, and going back and looking at his clips, and then even going further and listening to his neighbors. Good gosh, if every American could just feel that man, and it's the fact that it's being done by government, taking and seizing his property with no due process. Even the court efforts are rigged against the citizens. And it's an outrage. It's an outrage. And it's going to happen more, and it's happening all across the nation, and we just don't become aware of it because we haven't given it. And I know, Karen, when you start the show each week, you give wonderful websites for people to be able to go to and to start the sharing of information. And there's a wealth of information, but it also connects people. We have to become connected. Once we become connected as Americans, then we can stand and we can actually have an effort that will create change. And we're doing that. The Tea Party movement, the Patriot movement, Everything that we're doing is about creating and restoring an America that you and I could recognize. Because right now we know that that's not what's happening.
I want to share with our listeners, John, our attorney just gave us back the bill, and that is located on agenda21today.com. It's in the anti-Agenda 21 legislation. It says a bill for Florida property rights. Take that bill, folks, copy it, take out the word Florida, put your state in there, and tell your elected officials if they will not sign on to preserving your property rights, they don't represent you. And by property rights, John, it's not just your real property, it's your intellectual property also.
Absolutely.
Look what is going on with places like Gibson Guitar and businesses that are being put out of business. That's part of your property. Property is not just your real estate. Property is anything that you create. That's what our founding fathers were talking about when they said pursuit of happiness. That is anything that you create that is yours, that no one else has a right to steal or take. So take that bill, folks, and use it in your state. Use it in your community. Have your elected officials accountable on paper that they believe in the preservation of your private property, whatever you deem your private property is. Because if we elect representatives and we don't tell them what to do while they're representing us, guess what they will not do? They won't represent us. You know, John, I just saw, also, this is something that is also probably... I'm sorry?
This is Ruth.
Sounded like Ruth, maybe.
Oh, hi. Oh, yes. Folks, we are really blessed today. We're having a little bit of technical problems because in Florida right now, as our usual time of year, we're having our Florida thunderstorm. So, but Ruth Esser has joined us also, and Ruth has an amazing story and has done an amazing job in the fight to protect private property that she will be sharing with us. Thank you so much for joining with us today, Ruth. It is wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell people a little bit about your background and how you got involved with this egregious plan?
Okay. Well, I am a land developer, and I started. I've been dealing with DEP and the water management districts and all the games for years, and we would joke that there were some commies, but we thought we were joking. And I actually had a lady come to me. Her name's Carmen, and she said, "Would you look into Agenda 21 and speak about it?" And I asked her what it was, and when she explained it to me, I thought, well, that's insane. That can't be possible. That can't happen in the United States. And then the more I looked, the more I saw that not only was it true, but I was taking part in it. People don't understand that when we show those maps about the biodiversity convention with those zones, they'll say, well, they can't take that. Well, they need to understand that they not only can, but they have. To give you an example, in Santa Rosa County, we only have 14% of our county left that is in the hands of the private individual. 28% belongs to environmentalists, and the rest is government lands. So it's no longer private. So we're losing our land that quickly.
Wow.
And
I didn't realize that it was that fast. But folks, listen to what Ruth is saying. Go and look at your comprehensive plan. It does not mention private property at all. And then do what Ruth did, and now you'll find out why your counties have no money. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's correct. What happens is that when these agencies get land, whether they buy it or whatever they do for it, they do not pay taxes on that land. Here's what's ironic. Those guys get what's called the Murphy Act land, and that's the land that they acquire when we can't pay our property taxes, and they repossess it, so to speak, and they put it up for auction, and no one buys it. It used to go back to the state of Florida. Now it goes to the Department of Environmental Protection. And some people say, well, that's the state. No, that's not our state. That's a private agency.
No.
And that agency, ironically, does not pay taxes. So all that land gets taken off our tax router. We don't collect money. Our counties are going to be shortchanged in the funds that they can collect, and we are going to be literally defunding ourselves with these environmental agencies.
That's very important, folks, that you understand what Ruth said. We are paying for our own destruction.
Yes.
And this whole thing with the foreclosures and the housing market was all done by design. It was controlled. They wanted your houses. They wanted your property. What better way than to create the demise of the market and to steal the money from the same people that they will go out and say, we want to help. We want to help the middle class. If they want to help the middle class, then why did Fannie and Freddie just turn down a proposal to reduce the mortgage principal balance so that people could keep their homes and pay their mortgages? Because that's not what they want.
That's it. And, people need to understand that when you look at the biodiversity map and you see all the red zones and all this kind of stuff, you need to understand that every time you go to build a subdivision or a dollar store or your home, that you have to go get a permit. And when you go to either rezone your land or to get your permit to build your building, that your permitting agency, your planning and zoning agency, will have you do what's called an environmental study. When you do that environmental study, you call a company, they come out and look at your property, and they decide what's wet, what's high, what's dry, what plant qualifies you to be wetland, what dirt qualifies you to be a wetland, what water table qualifies you, what species might be on it, what excuse they can use in order to deny you a right to a permit to build on that land. And that is another one of the mechanisms they function through. They also work off protection zones. It's not all what they can confiscate. It's also what they can control. And so when we have the fly zones and the well-filled protection zones, all these zones are about them keeping you from building many houses on your property so that they can control where we live, to keep us living in these pods that they can more easily keep an eye on us and control what we do in. We're also controlled through what's called the APA. When the comprehensive zoning was done in our counties a few years ago, that was done because of some grants that were taken by our planning and zoning agencies. But what they did was they took and they applied a United Nations comprehensive plan to our counties in order to zone our properties as to where we could live and how many structures we could put on those pieces of property. This thing is much bigger than people understand. It's huge. When we apply to get a permit, a map is pulled off. It's called the United States Wildlife and Fisheries Map. That thing is the template for where we can build our homes, for where we can live. These guys have total control over everything that gets built. The biodiversity map is not a possibility of something that can happen. It is what they've been working on for many years and accomplishing very well.
They put these plans in motion by changing the coding, and now we are all following what they call the international UDC codes, which are the Universal Development Codes, which are essentially put in place to take businesses like Ruth and get them out of business, because the coding is so expensive that by the time you finish the permitting, the house that you wanted to build is off the charts and nobody can afford to buy it.
That's correct.
if they're managing two things, we're getting this right, they're managing two things at the same time. They're putting businesses like Ruth's business out of business, and you're keeping people from being able to move and live the way they want with their God-given rights.
That's correct.
And that's one of the things that you'll see, Karen, with the UDC, and because that's something we're fighting in my local parish here in Louisiana. The UDC code is being specifically written for the rural areas in Calcasieu Parish, but it's not affected by the large population centers like Lake Charles and Westlake where they want you to live. They don't have to meet some of those standards. So a developer is pushed away from a rural development where land may be economical to purchase, and he's forced into, developing an apartment complex. They really like that. And you can see exactly where they're driving the human population. They want us in, just like you said, they're going to have us all huddled up in our little masses in city areas, and there will be no more rural America.
Yes. And then,
could you explain what the APA is so that our listeners know what the acronyms are?
American Planning Association. They work in districts just like the water management works in districts. The Soviet Union has districts, not counties, not parishes, not cities. They have districts. And these guys are trying to create a governance that would be in control of our governments, and they would control larger areas by controlling districts. And so the APA is the American Planning Association, and they have districts such as the Northwest Florida Planning Association. And those guys control where our little houses get put.
Well,
one of the things, listen, because you're starting the conversation about regionalism in districts. One of the things that people have to be keenly aware of is when this happens and these districts are formed and these planners are appointed, it takes away your opportunity to have a county commissioner or a police juryman that you can go look in the eye and say, I don't want this, and your power to elect them is what makes them listen. You won't have that power. They're taking the power away.
Yes, and to go with it, they should never, no agency should ever be able to own 1 ounce of property. And yet they own hundreds of thousands and billions of dollars worth of property. And they can arrest. Why in the United States are we allowing agencies to arrest our citizens for putting dirt on their land, for Christ's sakes? This is as close to communism as this is a communist movement. It's happening under Mikhail Gorbachev, for Christ's sake. The man is a communist. The surface water. Look at Louisiana. They have taken 16 parishes into this thing. Anytime you see the word heritage, I don't care if it's in the Everglades or in Yellowstone or in Louisiana with the Chapalaya Heritage Rivers, wherever you see the word heritage, that is United Nations. That is the IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, coming in and snagging control. Even if they don't have their name on the land, they function like an LLC or an incorporation over some smaller companies that a person would own. They envelop like an octopus coming across the top to take the control of it.
And the basic thing that they are looking for is your money so they can have power over you and eventually control you. And they throw out rules and regulations that are designed to scare you without any backup scientific information or any financial information, but they use horrible words like the ocean is rising from 4 to 20 feet, so we have to do this policy. Where is the science that says that's correct? Where is the science that says this is a wetland? Where is the science that says this is whatever they're claiming that it happens to be? There isn't any, folks. We've got to challenge them. And that's the most important thing. we have to become educated, and we have to challenge them. I just read an article that the APA put out, and they said that they have to revisit some of their sustainability programs because they're not cracked up to what they're supposed to be. Think about this. Is it safer to live in a rural community or to live in the middle of a big city where you will find disease, pollution, lack of resources? You're on a grid. If something happens, it affects millions of people. It's not about your safety and your health. A disease that goes through a city will kill millions of people. Whereas in a rural community, you're spread out. And even if you choose to live in a city, is it not your choice? Or should you be forced to be in that city? And this is not about choices. This is about force.
Yeah, and this is, you see how Barack Obama is going around working with these companies to do these solar panels and such. Those people that own those companies are friends of his that have been working with him and Clinton for years in different agencies. This works the same way. This is not about anything much over them taking our land and making mega money while they do it. The DEP collects money off of docket stamps, off of taxes on our fuel, off of taxes on phosphates, off money from us, paid taxes to finance their paychecks, off of penalizing people who can't even protect themselves from the penalties, off of owning land that they get to sell, off of many things. The Water Management District, through a less-than-fee process, has just taken, as of last year, a certain amount of linear feet of area off of every water body. They claim ownership of all water and of so many feet of property on the banks of that water to take away any development rights. And so people don't even know that this has happened to them, and they won't know until they go pull a permit to build something within that area. This is huge. If people will pay attention in Florida to Walton County, to Nacoos Plantation, look into that thing. That describes exactly what's going on. You have Nature Conservancy giving the person, McDavis, who owns Nacoos, C. Davis to be exact, money so that he could purchase this land that he then sold to DEP, DEP paying him twice what he had gotten from Nature Conservancy. It's a game, guys, and we are the ones splitting the dollars. Then this man goes in and strips the land, selling the timber, making more money there, and they shuffle this land back and forth between each other. He's also financing land in Arizona and Wyoming to do the same game. It works so well that they can do it again and again on our tax dollars, and they are robbing us blind, not just of our land, but of our money. They're bankrupting us on purpose.
They absolutely are. And I saw somebody just sent me an email, and I am so proud of Polk County, Florida. They did their homework. They went to their commissioners, and they told them they will not accept a water runoff fee. And you can explain that one, but that, when I heard of it, I couldn't believe it. But I bet there are more counties now that people have these fees without even realizing what they are. Can you explain that one, Ruth?
Yes, that's coming off the numeric nutrient criteria, and they're going to try to pull this on Louisiana in that area that they did the Atchafalaya to Heritage Rivers area. They call it the surface water. And what they claim is that there needs to be a cleanup fee, so to speak, for cleaning that water that runs across that area because of pollutants and chemicals. They never mention to you that the grass on the side of our roads absorbs all the metals that come out of our mufflers of our cars as we ride down the roads. Those plants do clean that water, and even if they did not, these guys are not cleaning anything. They're just collecting a fee from us. It's another way to game us out of some more money. And they talk about numeric nutrient criteria and filtering water. They couldn't possibly filter the water in our rivers at the level that they claim they want to demand that we clean them at. And if we could, you'd kill every fish in every body of water because there would be no food left in the water. What they come up with does not work any more than paying fees for CO2 for climate change. It's not supposed to work. It's supposed to bankrupt us. It's supposed to make a bunch of crooks a lot of money, and it's supposed to take all our rights away and bring us into a Soviet Union-style country globally.
Folks, now is the time that many counties are going through their budgeting. And it is so important that you go to these budgeting meetings because they will tell you they won't raise the millage rate, but maybe they'll put in a process that they'll put a meter on your private well so that they can manage the water that all of a sudden you are now sharing with the rest of the people in your community. Wait a minute, folks, this is America. What you find on your land is yours, and that is not for your government to tax or fee or permit. So these are the kinds of things that your commissioners are being coached by these agencies that Ruth is describing, telling them, you want more money? You don't have to raise the millage rate. Just go put a meter on everybody's well. Right. Folks, we have to pay attention because if we are not informed, they get to do this to us, and then we have to undo it, which, believe me, it's much easier to put in place when there's nobody in the room than it is to take away when the room is filled with people. So we have to pay attention. We have to go to commissioner meetings. You can't think that if you elected Karen and she's now your county commissioner and I'm going to go there and represent you, that I'm going to represent you if you don't show up. I'm not going to represent you if you don't show up. I'm going to think you don't care. And if you don't care and some government agency says, Karen, you're going to go to a class, and in this class you're going to learn about how there's 45 million different fees because there's thousands upon thousands of new regulations that you can throw on the people, what do you think I'm going to do?
Yeah.
Every agency, every county, every state has an association of counties. And they start off with NACO, which is the National Association of Counties. So in Florida, we have the Florida Association of Counties. In New Jersey, they have the New Jersey Association of Counties, the Pennsylvania Association of Counties. Go and look what NACO is about, because on page 108 of one of Ruth's favorite documents called the Johannesburg Accords...
Plan of implementation, yes. Plan of implementation.
Yes. That is the plan, and how do they implement it? They use the National Association of Counties.
Yes.
Why don't you explain what the Johannesburg implementation plan is?
The Johannesburg Plan of Implementation came out at Earth Summit in 2002. The health care bill that is right now being shoved down our throat is in the Johannesburg Plan of Implementation. People need to understand all this interconnectivity, the smart meter that's on your electric bill, the electric meter, the smart meter that's on your water meter, all that is in there. It's interconnectivity. When they take and limit the consumption rates for our water, that is the Johannesburg Plan of Implementation. They claim that the most precious thing that they can sell to us is our water, that we would give anything to have it. That's in the Johannesburg Plan of Implementation. Agenda 21 happened in 1992. These Earth Summits, they release different treaties or plans, and they just simply tweak them and make them a little more stout with each summit. And so at the Johannesburg, they started speaking towards ideas of, well, for one thing, that one day they'd like to create a licensure for births, since all these treaties seem to stake in their corner that we have too many human beings breathing and moving on this earth, and they would like to reduce the population. And so right now, through the medical field, which I work in, they are working on implementing what's called the web-based that all of us will have all our health care visible on, so that the government will know everything about us. And in the future, it would make it very easy to then go forward and put the other piece in. We all watched Barack Hussein Obama work against the Catholic Church, demanding that they allow certain procedures be done in their hospitals. Then they tried to flip it on us and say, yeah, this is about birth control pills. It's not about birth control pills. It is about sterilization and state abortion. And the reason for them is because if they can implement a licensure, of which, if anyone remembers, Biden said this last year he agreed with China's one-child law, then they would check our health records and see that we would not have a possibility of giving birth to a child that the community may have to finance the health care of. And if you do have such a gene running around in your body, they would simply need to sterilize you. If you do not have that gene, but you do not have a license because you didn't pass for the license, because you don't make enough money, or because you're not considered emotionally well enough to raise a child properly, and you get pregnant, they would have a right to initiate a state mandatory abortion, of which all hospitals would have to agree to take part in. These are the kind of things that are happening in our country right now. This thing is huge. We have red lights everywhere with cameras sitting on them monitoring us. We have GPSs in our phones and in our cars. Everything we do is recordable right now. Everything we buy is recordable. We're already at such a point with this movement that it's going to be everything that we can do in order to change it and save ourselves and our country from it. People are late to waking up to this thing. This election is the most important election we have ever had. Right now, we're asking people to please do some block parties, some Romney-Ryan block parties at your house, in your subdivision. Throw out some cookies, throw out a cake, whatever. Put a sign out. Invite the people in your neighborhood to come and just simply speak, because there are a lot of undecided. And if we lose this election, everything that we're speaking about today completely gets initiated. Valerie Jarrett, who is Barack Obama's senior advisor, is completely in this. Barack Obama is completely in this. Van Jones is the green czar. He is a communist. He is good friends with Valerie Jarrett and Barack Obama. We're not in an election that is Democratic as to Republican. We're in an election that is communism as to Americanism. And everything that we're speaking about are pieces of plans and treaties, including disarming the United States. That's in the Johannesburg Plan of Implementation, and it is taking place. All these things are happening to us right now. They're not in the future, and a lot of them have already been accomplished.
Folks, please listen to what Ruth said. This is not a personality contest. We're not telling you at all that we love Romney and Ryan. That is not what this is about. But I honestly do not believe that Romney hates America. And I honestly do believe that Obama hates America. So we need to make a choice. We are either going to have a leader that does not hate America and at least will give us the ability to protest, to go to our elected officials and make a case for the truth and show them and explain. And many of them have no idea what they're implementing, because Agenda 21 to me is like a giant jigsaw puzzle. And everybody has a little itty-bitty piece. And nobody realizes that all of those pieces are interconnected and fit together. So what Romney and Ryan will do is enable us to go to our local community, to go to our state, and explain to our elected officials with the proof that we are providing, that you can find on our website, agenda21today.com, that you can go to a conference, you can go to an Operation Paul Revere conference, you can talk to us, you can email us. We will give you all of the tools that you need to get the education that you need to share with others. If we have Barack Obama as our president, that will be taken away. We will no longer have that ability to make our case. And that is what this election is about. It isn't about the personality of who looks good and who looks presidential and who is likable and who is not. It is about who will stand for America and allow us to continue to have the freedoms that we have and the ability to turn this back and put it back in its box where it belongs. But if Barack Obama is elected, that will be gone forever, for a very, 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 very long time. And I will guarantee you that your children will be slaves to a communist regime who will strip them of everything that you fought so hard to achieve.
And, you know, people need to understand, when he speaks to social justice, he thinks that it is wrong that Americans are so rich, and he thinks that everyone in America is rich. Because when you compare Americans to third world countries, such as Honduras, we are all rich. But he doesn't like that. He thinks that we need to balance our income with their income, which is why they're transferring all our technology and all our jobs outside of the United States to third world countries. And so people need to understand, when this gentleman gets up and speaks to trying to share the wealth, he does not mean me making $50,000 a year sharing with someone else who's making $5 million a year, with him giving me some of his so that I then have $100,000 a year. That's not correct. A lot of your people think that's what he's talking about. No, he's saying me making $50,000 a year should be making $5,000 a year, and then everyone would be fair. And that he wants that type of, he wants to take American paychecks and bring them to Honduras type paychecks. And people need to understand that that's what he means by social justice. We have a man in the White House as president that would not send a couple $1,000s to his brother who had a child dying in a hospital. He does not care about helping his brother, literally. He cares about taking us down. He believes Americans are wrong, that we are an attack machine that has gone out and abused the world, and that we are far too wealthy. He wants to see us poor, and he wants to see us weaker. That's what he's talking about.
You know, when you are listening to the Democrats and they are following this line of social justice, what you really should be looking at, and this would be a really interesting thing to do, what is their net worth? Because when you looked at that convention and they paraded all of these people in front to talk about how we should spread the wealth, and how Eva Longoria, that was the one that sticks out in my mind, when she was when she was flipping hamburgers, she needed money. Now that she's a movie star, she doesn't mind paying her fair share. Well, you know what? There's a line right on our income tax, and it says, do you want to donate more back to the federal government? Why don't you check that line? Why do we have to have a law that says you're going to stick your hand in my pocket so that I don't get to stick my hand in your pocket? That doesn't make sense. If those people want to donate money, by all means, we'd love them to do it. Donate money. We need the money. Donate it.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do that.
Everything about them is based on envy and on greed and on anger and on hate. Everything negative. There's nothing positive about them. Warren Buffett gets on TV and brags about his secretary pays more taxes than he does. Well, that's because he doesn't pay his taxes. He owes a ton of it right now, and he won't pay it. But meanwhile, he's working on a deal with Barack Obama to ship oil with his train company, and Barack Obama is blocking the Keystone pipeline, giving Warren Buffett the rights to ship the oil. It's all corrupt. It's all games. There are some elitists that want to own and run this country. There is a lie that the Republican Party is the party of the rich. The Democratic Party has far more rich in it than the Republican Party. The Republican Party is a party of the small business people, and the Democratic Party seems to want to destroy that right now.
Yes, let's understand what communism is for a minute. Communism, Marxism, progressivism, all of those isms, they only work when you have an elite, a group that has, and that is funded by masses of people that have nothing. Because a little bit from a lot of people is a lot. And that's what they base everything on. So if I made money, and let's say I made money in the oil business, what would that do to one of them who already owns an oil company? Well, it would create competition. You might choose to buy from me and not from Warren Buffett. What would that do? That would take money out of Warren Buffett's pocket. So what is he going to say? He's going to say, oh, we have to get rid of the middle class because we can't put a person in a position to be able to become my competition. And that's what this is all about. They do not want anyone to become their competition. They want to control everything. They don't want to share. That's not the point. And if you look at the statistics and the numbers time and time again, every city, every community that is controlled by this machine is poor, is devastated. Their children have less of an opportunity. Look at what's going on in Chicago. And who are they going to demonize? They're going to demonize the teachers. Well, folks, I was a teacher. I know that rule. I know the way that gets manipulated. I wasn't unhappy, and I didn't mind if I worked an extra hour a day, because that was not why I was teaching. These teachers, you're getting $70,000, $80,000 a year. I don't want to take any money out of their pocket. But it's not about them working an extra hour. It's about who are we going to isolate and demonize so that we can separate you and steal more from you. Because when we don't talk, and we don't communicate, and we're not educated in the truth, then we believe what the media tells us. And that is where all of this is going. So you cannot believe what the media says. You cannot.
People need to know that this is not. We're not being sporadic in what all we're speaking about. We're speaking about the different portions of one movement. It is not an environmental movement. It is not just an economic movement. It is not just a social movement. It is a communistic movement. And people need to remember that in our third world countries, or in China, or in Russia, the environment is not clean. Not because of anything else except that they have a communistic government, which is corrupt. And because it's corrupt, all the money goes to the government, and all the people are poor. And because everyone's poor, the environment is nastier. So we can't play into a head game. We have to base ourselves in truth and in fact and know the game that's being played so that we can defend ourselves, our country, our future, our children. We are the greatest country in the world. If we lose it, not only do we go into the blackness, but every country goes into blackness. And we are not only here to enjoy our freedom, we have a responsibility to stake that freedom so that other countries might then be free.
The Europeans, I just got an email, and the Europeans are waking up, folks. They have just said the European Union will impose a limited use of crop-based biofuels because they have recognized that they are less climate friendly and they are interfering with the food. Think about that, folks. What are we being forced to do here? Burn our food and put it in our automobiles. Why? Under the idea of the environment. Well, now you have a group of people that have finally, after listening and listening, have finally found the truth. And the truth is, food should not be burned in your car. food is to be eaten. And by eliminating food, people are starving worldwide. And yet we are being told by the head of the Department of the Interior, Tom Vislick, that he is not going to stop the ethanol mandate. Why? Because they want a food shortage. What's the easiest way to control people? Through food. Next, their housing. Then their money. And that's what this game that they are playing is all about. So they use the environment. It is a lie. And they promote these lies through our educational system, because we don't check and we don't learn the truth, and we just listen to the snippets that we hear on the media instead of doing what we should be doing, which is verifying everything. Don't listen to Karen. Don't listen to Ruth. Don't listen to John. Go and find out for yourself.
That's correct.
And you will find that what we are telling you happens to be the truth. I'm proud to say that, because we haven't been wrong in any of the things that we've said. Everything that we're telling you happens to be the truth. But I don't want you to take our word for it. It is so important. And that's why I tell people, our information is on our website. It's on Agenda 21 today. I'm not going to tell you where it is, because it's there. If I tell you, then it's mine and I have ownership of it. If you go and you investigate, you will learn it, you will retain it, and you will remember it. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to get back to the spot where we, the people, take control of ourselves. Our life is our responsibility, not our government's responsibility. It's our responsibility, and we have to take that back. And Ruth, tell everyone you've been to town hall meetings, and now you're interacting with your commissioners, and they're listening.
Yes, I am. I'm also interacting with our governor.
Well, that's even better. That is wonderful. Do you see what one person can do? I don't ever want anybody to say to me, I am one person, what can I do? We live in a time when one person can make a tremendous difference. And that's what America is all about. The power of the individual.
Yes, my mother used to always say, one woman took the Bible out of the spaceship, and one woman caused abortion to be legal in our country. One.
Well, we have to be aware that the power of one is what America is based on. One person learning the truth, sharing that with another person, learning the truth, getting together based on the truth, creates a tremendous power. Why do you think we're in this power grab? They have all the money in the world, and they can print all the money in the world. But what's the one thing that's missing is that vote. They don't have our individual vote, because one person having $1 billion is different than 100 million people having one vote each. And it's the power of that one vote. And on a local level, how many elections were lost or won by 2 votes, 5 votes, 10 votes, 3 votes? You have to think like that, folks. You have to think like that. What's going on in your community? What's more important? Yes, the federal government is important. Yes, the United States is important. But they're not going to put the food on your table. And they're not going to take care of you when you're sick. It's you and your community and what you do with that that's going to make the difference. So please, Ruth, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. It has been a pleasure as always. And folks, please go to agenda21today.com. Start reading the information. Don't try and think that you're going to get it all at once. I love Ruth's idea. Have a block party. Have a come to truth moment. Take some of the YouTubes. Ruth has a wonderful YouTube on there, wonderful videos. Take some of them. Take a 10-minute clip and sit with a group of friends and go over it. And open your mind and stop watching the garbage that's on television. You want to make a difference? Make a difference. Go to the supermarket and say, like I did the other day, when I went to buy shrimp, and I said, I don't want anything that comes from Ecuador and Argentina. I want food that comes from America. Why? Not only do I believe that it'll be safer, but I want the fishery to work. We can't say we want to bring the jobs back and then not get the jobs back. That's up to us, not up to them.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening today. Go to agenda21today.com. Go to the legislation page. Pull off the bill that was for Florida. Take that bill and read it. It protects our property rights. The one thing that is missing from every comprehensive plan. Communists will not protect your property rights. They believe that people should not own property, that property should be reserved for the good of the collective, which is under their control. Take that bill, fix it and make it fit your state. And when you go to the town hall meetings, hold your representatives accountable and say, will you sign this? Because if you don't sign it and you don't go back to our state capital and you don't implement this, then you don't deserve my vote. It's that simple. And go around the neighborhood and get as many people as you can to sign it and create that movement of one, which will turn into a movement of many. Ruth, any other clues for anyone?
Oh, well, just get out there and look at everything. If you see sustainable America. If you see anything that speaks to equal justice, equal economies, any of these words, then your antennas need to go up. Look up forward linen. Forward, the word that Barack Obama is using right now comes from Lenin. Lenin used that when he was running. Pay attention to the pieces. Learn what's going on. Know what's happening in our country. No man has ever stayed free who was not educated and who was not moral. We have to be educated and we have to be moral.
Thank you all for listening, and we will be back again next week. This is Karen Schoen with American Freedom Watch Radio. We are brought to you live on repatriatradio.com. Please visit our websites, agenda21today.com, repatriatradio.com, panhandlepatriots.com, and americaismyname.org. Thank you all, and have a wonderful week. Thank you, Ruth. Take care.
Thank you.
But if you want money for people with minds that hate, all I can tell you is, brother, you have to wait.